My name is Qingchen, and I've been in this world for exactly 17 years. To be honest, these 17 years have been pretty stifling. As a transmigrator, aside from having a face that's fairly good-looking, I haven't awakened any cheat ability at all. My martial arts talent is even more ordinary. In this world where the strong reign supreme, this kind of aptitude basically amounts to a death sentence. I often mock myself for really bringing shame to transmigrators. Today, in the scorching heat of June, the sun hung overhead like a blazing furnace. Qingchen High School, the best martial arts high school in Guangling City, had over 1,000 students gathered in the center of the field at this moment. Everyone surrounded a huge transparent crystal called the Tomb of Heroic Souls. Inside the crystal, countless multicolored points of light drifted about like living things. Most eye-catching were 3 purple clusters of light and 1 enormous golden point of light, an S-rank Heavenly General Heroic Soul, and an SS-rank Emperor Heroic Soul. Today was the Heroic Soul Blessing Ceremony, the day that would decide everyone's fate. Old Zhang, I'm so excited, someone said, rubbing their hands together in excitement. Excited my ass. If we don't get a blessing above B rank, the two of us are heading to the factory after these next few days of school. The person beside him poured cold water on the idea. But what if? What if we actually get one? Give me a break. B-rank heroic souls were all fierce figures who took part in the ancient war between gods and demons before they died. Why would they take a liking to us? Amid the noisy chatter, I stood in the middle of the crowd with my eyes closed. From time to time, girls around me secretly glanced at me and whispered among themselves. That's Qingchen from the prodigy class, the school heartthrob. He really is handsome, but unfortunately his martial arts realm seems a bit low. Just 2 days ago, he was still trying to open up his Qi. I've been hearing this kind of talk for 17 years. I'm already immune to it. Just then, a wave of blue Qi suddenly erupted from inside my body, enveloping me completely. The Qi wave repeatedly washed over my body before finally settling in my Dantian Qi. I opened my eyes and let out a long breath. Qi realm, success. I finally broke through right before the blessing ceremony, barely reaching the threshold for a martial arts university. I was just thinking about becoming a security guard after graduation and skipping several decades of detours when a voice suddenly exploded in my head. Ding! Detected that the host has broken through to the Qi realm. The Divine Hall system has awakened. My whole body jolted violently as if I'd been electrocuted. For 17 years, I had been waiting for this moment every second. My cheat ability had finally fucking arrived. Within the Divine Hall dwell the complete souls of hundreds of gods. Once the host completes a god's trial, they may obtain that god's blessing. Matching a god for the host. God obtained. Peach Blossom, Sword God. Trial issued. When I saw the content of the trial clearly, my expression nearly cracked on the spot. Trial content. Forcefully kiss the school bell Luo Yuli in public for more than 10 seconds. Remaining time, 30 minutes. Failure to complete will be deemed the host's automatic abandonment of the Divine Hall, and the system will be permanently shut down. Kiss Luo Yuli in public by force. Luo Yuli, the undisputed perfect school belle of Guangling No. 1 High School. Setting aside her breathtaking beauty, even more terrifying was her strength. At 17, she was at the peak of the warrior realm. This kind of talent could only be described as monstrous. Even more fatal was her father, Luo Tianheng, the chief governor of Guangling City. An S-rank blessed, and a super powerhouse in the Grandmaster realm. In all of Guangling City, Luo Tianheng's will is the law. The system wants me to publicly force a kiss on his daughter? What kind of deadly trial is this? Just as I was thinking that, a tidal wave of astonished cries suddenly erupted from the entire crowd. Luo Yuli was walking toward the Tomb of Heroic Souls. She wore a loose school uniform, but it couldn't hide those heaven-defying long legs or the perfect curves rising from her upper body. Her skin outshone frost and snow, and her dark hair was smooth like a waterfall. Her features were so exquisite they hardly seemed real, and her whole body radiated a distant, icy aura, like a peerless work of art. The moment she appeared, the eyes of every boy in the crowd were firmly drawn to her. Walking up to the Tomb of Heroic Souls, Luo Yuli placed her hand on it. The instant she touched it, the clusters of light inside the entire crystal surged wildly as if in riot, with the white, yellow, and blue being rapidly squeezed aside, leaving only the purple and gold clusters still locked in struggle. On the high platform, the principal's eyes widened. Heroic souls above S rank are fighting over her? I've never seen anything like this. Beside him, Secretary Fu yanked off his tie and stared fixedly below. because he saw that among those competing inside the crystal was also a golden humanoid cluster of light, an SS rank Emperor blessing. Luo Yuli, blessing successful. Obtained SS rank Emperor blessing, primal element control. A burst of golden light exploded from the tomb of heroic souls, enveloping her whole body. The girl was surrounded by divine radiance, like a goddess descending into the mortal world. The whole venue fell deathly silent for a moment, then completely erupted. Holy shit. SS rank. It really is SS rank. Primal element control, command over the 5 elements. This is way too terrifying. The Great Xia Nation only produces 1 SS rank every few years. The Luo family is about to gain another martial god. On stage, the principal was so excited his old face turned red, and Secretary Fu's hands were shaking as he hurriedly made a call. Lord Luo, the young lady has obtained an SS rank Emperor blessing. And I stood in the crowd, looking at the countdown above my head with only 20 minutes left, my palms drenched in sweat. Next, Qingchen. The teacher on stage called my name. I gritted my teeth. Damn, isn't it just social death? For a god-tier blessing, I'm all in. On the way to the tomb of heroic souls, my hands were trembling. I pressed my hand against the crystal surface, and a bizarre scene occurred. Soul bodies of every color shot off like they'd seen a ghost, fleeing madly in the opposite direction. The remaining 3 purple clusters shrank into the corner of the crystal, and the soul bodies kept trembling, as if they feared something. Qingchen, blessing failed. The boys below immediately found it hilarious. What's the use of being so handsome if you couldn't even get a D-rank blessing? What a disgrace to the prodigy class, such a waste of that face. I had no time to care about any of that. My gaze locked firmly onto Luo Yuli. The golden light on her body was completely merging into her, and the blessing was finished. Now, I drove power into my legs, blue chi waves of the Qi realm wrapping around my whole body, and I lunged fiercely at Luo Yuli like a wild beast. She had just opened her bright watery eyes. The first thing she saw was my face. Qingchen, why are you? The words that followed were sealed back by me. I wrapped an arm around her slender waist and lowered my head to fiercely kiss her soft pink lips. The touch was soft and warm, carrying the girl's faint fragrance. Luo Yuli's mind went completely blank. She instinctively wanted to push me away, but her SS rank ability had just fused into her body and elemental power was still surging chaotically, so she didn't dare use her strength for fear of backlash. In the end, she could only slump limply in my arms and let me do as I pleased. I had only one thought in my mind. 10 seconds. Hold on for 10 seconds. In her panic, Luo Yuli took a step back and lost her footing, and the 2 of us fell onto the stage together. I pinned her down and kept kissing her. The entire school fell silent. The principal's mouth fell open. Secretary Fu's smile froze at the corner of his lips. Thousands of teachers and students, including all the faculty, collectively had their CPUs burned out. A loser who had just broken through to the Qi realm, forcibly kissing the monstrous school bell with an SS rank blessing to the ground. Peach Blossom, Sword God Divine trial passed. Guiding host to the Divine Hall. Countless blood-red figures flooded into my mind, and my consciousness was submerged. I let go of Luo Yuli and passed out on the spot. In panic, Luo Yuli shoved me away and staggered back repeatedly. Her clothes were disheveled, her face so red it looked ready to drip blood, and her big eyes were filled with a grieved mist. Her body swayed a few times, and she fainted as well. After the playground fell silent for several seconds, it suddenly erupted like a bomb. Holy shit. He really kissed her. Forcibly kissing the school bell in public. My Qingchen High School actually has such a warrior. My goddess's first kiss is gone. Qingchen, I'll kill you. Before the commotion had even ended, a thunderclap-like roar exploded from the horizon, making everyone's hearts tremble. You bastard. A burly red-haired man came striding through the air, carrying a lightning-glowing broadsword on his back, while the surging force around him compressed the air into explosive booms. It was none other than Luo Tianheng, the chief governor of Guangling City. 10 minutes earlier, he had received a call saying his daughter had obtained an SS-grade blessing and had rushed over excitedly, only to see his own precious cabbage being rooted by a pig in public. Luo Tianheng's face was as dark as a volcano on the verge of erupting, his eyes locked on me lying on the ground. The chief governor of Guangling City is here. This student has been bewitched and possessed by an evil spirit, attempting to seize the SS-grade blessing ability through physical contact. Detain him on the spot and await disposition. He drew his thundercry blade, and the force of heaven and earth gathered at its tip. forming a cage that was about to slash down at me. Wait. The principal's figure flashed, and he stood in front of me. Principal Zhang, what do you mean by this? Luo Tianheng's gaze turned icy, and pressure at the Grandmaster level came crashing down like the sky itself. Under this terrifying pressure, the principal's expression did not change as he said calmly, Governor Luo, children fooling around should be settled by the children themselves. If you really take him away and leave a criminal record on him, this child's whole life will be ruined. Luo Tianheng let out a cold laugh, his aura bursting out again as he tried to suppress the principal further. Yet he discovered that his Grandmaster's pressure vanished like a mud ox entering the sea, while the principal still looked completely at ease. Luo Tianheng was inwardly shocked. This insignificant principal's cultivation was actually no weaker than his own. Forcing a move was no longer possible. He withdrew his aura and said coldly, Principal Zhang, very well. For your sake, I can refrain from detaining him. But today, Qingchen High School must give my daughter an explanation. The principal fell silent for a moment, then said carefully, according to school rules, he will be given disciplinary probation and it will be entered into his permanent record for life. Disciplinary probation? Luo Tianheng was so furious that he laughed instead. Publicly humiliating the daughter of me, Luo Tianheng, and all he gets is disciplinary probation? I demand his immediate expulsion and that all the meridians in his body be destroyed so that he can never practice martial arts again in this life. The principal's face instantly turned pale. In the world of martial arts, crippling someone's meridians was more unbearable than death. It meant becoming a complete cripple for the rest of one's life, with no chance of ever turning things around. He lowered his voice. Governor Luo, the child acted on impulse. Don't talk to me about school rules. Luo Tianheng cut him off directly, a cold gleam flickering in his eyes. In Guangling City, one word from me is enough to abolish the school rules. 2 seconds from now, if you're still standing in my way, Qingchen High School will lose its enrollment next year. The principal fell silent. Losing enrollment qualifications was tantamount to sentencing this century-old prestigious school to death. He could not destroy the entire school's future because of a single student. He let out a helpless sigh inwardly and was just about to step aside. The sky suddenly went completely dark. At some point, the blazing sun had been entirely obscured, unable to let through even a trace of light. Dark clouds blanketed the sky, and within them countless twisted tentacles writhed, as if they were about to burst through the clouds. He, so sweet, devour. Dao seed eat it. A pitch-black humanoid creature parted the dark clouds and poked out half its body. An utterly evil aura spread out, and countless maddening mutterings exploded in everyone's ears. Quite a few students on the playground clutched their ears in pain, their expressions nearly deranged. Luo Tianheng's pupils contracted sharply. This is a remnant soul of an evil god? Impossible. How could something of this rank appear in Guangling City? Only by comprehending the Dao rhythm of martial arts and forming a Dao seed would one attract the souls of fallen ancient evil gods. Dao rhythm is the key to stepping into the martial god realm. And the aura released when a Dao seed condenses will attract these terrifying beings to come and devour it. When the Dao falls, people die. So many great experts at the half-step martial god level have died at this stage. Could someone nearby be breaking through to the martial god realm? In the clouds, the ink-black humanoid let out a hoarse shriek, its head spinning frantically through 360 degrees as it searched. When it turned toward me, it stopped. It gave a sinister laugh and reached out a giant hand covered in boils from the clouds. That hand had 6 fingers, each one made up of countless broken heads, seeming to cry and laugh at once, their expressions eerie and horrifying beyond measure. The giant hand reached straight for me and Luo Yuli. The principal and Luo Tianheng both changed expression drastically. Just a remnant soul could trigger such a heaven and earth phenomenon. This thing must have been absurdly powerful in life. Qingchen woke up. What is he doing again? Someone shouted from below. On the blessing platform, I, who had been unconscious, staggered to my feet. My eyes were still tightly closed, as if I had not woken up yet. Instinctively, I shielded the unconscious Luo Yuli behind me. Bending down, I casually picked up a peach blossom branch from the ground. Under everyone's gaze, I slowly raised that slender branch and pointed it at the ink-black, filthy figure in the sky. In an instant, countless storm-like sword energies gathered on his peach blossom branch. In the Divine Spirit Hall, Qingchen slowly opened his eyes and looked around somewhat blankly. What came into view was a profusion of peach blossoms like a spring breeze. In the center of the peach grove stood an unremarkable middle-aged man. This is the Peach Blossom Sword God. Qingchen was somewhat surprised. Seeing Qingchen wake up, the middle-aged man smiled and nodded at him. Sorry, I owe a senior a favor. This trial was posted by him on my behalf. The middle-aged man's expression was a little awkward, as if he were explaining something. Qingchen nodded half-understandingly, then sized up the sword god before him and asked with some confusion, "Since you are the sword god, then why didn't I see your sword?" The middle-aged man smiled faintly and explained, "The world is not yet worthy of me using a sword." Then he broke off a peach blossom branch beside him. "So this is my sword." The moment the middle-aged man picked up the peach blossom branch, the entire peach forest seemed brushed by a breeze. In an instant, peach blossoms in the forest fell like a waterfall, dyeing Qingchen's entire field of vision pink. For such a beautiful scene, Qingchen's body was frozen in place, not daring to move at all. He could feel that hidden within those fluttering blossoms was a chilling intent to kill. It seemed that the moment he moved, he would be cut to pieces by the petals around him carrying sword intent. The word sword was born for killing. The character kill goes against the heavenly way, proving the Tao through killing is to go against the heavens and oppose the Tao of heaven. Slay all injustices in the mortal world and kill all those in the world who deserve to die. One sword unsheathed, heaven and man go to their deaths, gods and demons fall. The middle-aged man's tone was indifferent as he waved his hand, and the rainstorm-like peach blossoms around him abruptly scattered. The instant the peach blossoms scattered, an intangible sword intent mixed with the ultimate killing intent instantly filled this heaven and earth. He extended the peach blossom branch and lightly pointed it toward the sky. As a sword fell, an unusual phenomenon suddenly arose. In the sky, it seemed as though a scarlet sea of blood had split open, countless corpses drifting within it. Above the blood sea, the huge remains of hundreds of gods floated and swayed on the surface. Above the cloud-covered firmament, the 10,000 zhang rolling clouds shattered completely, and a gigantic rift was torn open. The chasm was pitch black, like an abyss. One sword split the heavens. Qingchen stared blankly at the split sky, his mouth opening soundlessly. From the lico in the sky, one filthy and evil gaze after another peered out, yet they seemed to fear something and did not dare to act. 1,000 years ago, in this world, gods and demons ran rampant, and human lives were as worthless as grass. Life and death rested entirely on a single whim of the gods and demons. To protect the living beings of the world, I once stood guard at the heavenly gate with one man and one sword, and slew 81 gods and demons. I killed so many gods that they no longer dared to open the heavenly gate, no longer dared to trespass into the human world. The middle-aged man lowered the peach blossom branch, as if speaking to himself. With the strength of one man alone, he killed 81 gods and demons? Qingchen shuddered all over, and the knowledge of this world involuntarily surfaced in his mind. In the path of cultivation in this high martial world, the zero realm tempers the body. The first realm is the Qi Si. The second realm is martial warrior. The third realm is transcendence. The fourth realm is great ascension. The fifth realm is Grand Master. The sixth realm is Marquis King. The seventh realm is Supreme. The eighth realm is Martial God. And the ninth realm is Supreme Immortal. Moreover, each realm is further divided into 10 minor stages. And after the Martial Warrior realm, advancing even one minor stage is as difficult as ascending to heaven. In the current Great Xia, the strongest are no more than the 4 martial gods who guard the borders and defend Great Xia's territory. But even martial gods have merely touched the threshold of the word God and are not true gods. What's more, even a 9th realm supreme immortal can only be considered a demigod. It is still an unknown distance away from true gods and demons. Yet this unremarkable middle-aged man before him had actually, by his own strength alone, slaughtered 81 true gods and demons. What kind of terrifying power was this? Before Qingchen could recover his senses, the middle-aged man smiled calmly at him. Others bestow abilities. I bestow upon you the supreme Tao. This is not merely a trace of Tao aura, but a complete great Tao that I forged over the course of my entire life. But this Tao is too shocking and unconventional, and it will inevitably attract the coveting of evil fiends. That is all I will say. The blessing is complete. You may leave at any time. As for the matter of the Hall of Gods, it must not be told to outsiders. After saying this, the scenery around the man dissipated like a bubble, and the luxuriant peach blossom grove seemed like an illusion. After the peach grove completely vanished, a sacred palace towering into the clouds was revealed. The peach blossom sword god turned into a streak of red light and flew into one of the 7 palaces at the very top, leaving Qingchen standing there alone. On the ground lay a branch blooming with peach blossoms. Qingchen stood stunned for a while, then thoughtfully picked up the peach branch from the ground. Inside Jinxin High School. Qingchen, what are you doing? Stop. Provoking an evil god like this is courting death. Seeing Qingchen raise his sword, the principal's face was full of anxiety as he shouted angrily in Qingchen's direction. He could not understand why Qingchen, who was usually always gentle and humble, had been making strange moves one after another today. Beside the principal, killing intent once again surfaced in Luo Tianheng's eyes. In his view, Qingchen's actions were very likely to drag everyone in Jinxin High School down to be buried with him. What is that thing in the sky? It feels horrible. I feel like ants are crawling all over my body. A student cried out in pain. On his face, dense clusters of flesh buds squirmed continuously, as if about to break through the skin. What is Qingchen doing? Has he gone crazy today? Damn, Qingchen, this horrifying wail, boo-hoo. Mom, I don't want to die yet. Amid the unending wails in Jinxin High School, the evil god in the sky let out a hissing laugh, and the giant hand piled with human heads suddenly accelerated and smashed heavily toward Qingchen. In the next moment, Qingchen moved. He took one step forward. As this step was taken, heaven and earth and all things seemed to freeze for an instant at the same time. A blood moon broke through the ink-black dark clouds, casting down crimson radiance that completely enveloped Qingchen. In an instant, the dense crimson became the dominant color of this world. A faint smile hung on Qingchen's face as he pointed toward the blood moon, and the peach blossom branch gave a slight shake. Beside him, an endless crimson sea of blood slowly emerged, countless corpses bobbing in it. Above the blood sea, the massive remains of over 100 gods floated and swayed on the surface. The boundless, utter killing intent completely shrouded the entire Guangling city. Even the air seemed capable of devouring people. A wisp of breeze brushed past Qingchen's ear, stirring the ends of his hair. The god-slaying sword emerged. The living went to their deaths, the heavenly beings were reborn, and the gods fell. Qingchen stepped into the sky and laughed brightly. I, Qingchen, have a sword that can make all the gods and demons in the world bow their heads. Holding the peach blossom branch, he aimed at the firmament and thrust it violently. The boundless mountains of corpses and seas of blood surged toward the firmament like a mighty army, pressing and compressing until they became a floating yellow springs. Looking at the deathly spring formed from the overwhelming killing intent before him, the originally ugly face of the evil god twisted abruptly. Hiss no. Chi. You ascend. Before the evil god could react, the terrifying waters of the yellow springs had already surged before him. When the yellow springs appear, all bones wither. The 10,000 zhang yellow springs rolled on without end, with the force of annihilating heaven and earth, directly crushing the evil god that had just broken free of its restraints, and continuing to surge forward, swallowing the entire firmament together with the evil god's hoarse screams. In midair, Qingchen still held the peach branch in his hand, pointing it toward the sky, a faint smile on his face. Slaying the evil and the demonic with one sword seemed merely a casual act for him. In an instant, the black curtain formed by the clouds in the sky shattered with a roar, and 10,000 zhang sunlight broke free from the clouds, pouring down on Qingchen. Bathed in golden light, Qingchen looked like a supreme deity. Even the blood-red killing intent carried a hint of sanctity. My goodness, after a long while, someone finally muttered in a dreamlike daze, staring blankly at Qingchen in the sky. The moment Qingchen struck out with this sword, the entire Luoyang province trembled in response. The sword intent set off towering waves of air, stirring the clouds as they rolled and billowed, spreading for hundreds of miles and crushing everything it touched in the sky. The sky over all of Guangling City was utterly clear, like a crystal-clear lake, refreshed anew, with not a trace of gloom left. After standing there in a daze for a long time, many students in the playground of Jinxin Middle School finally managed to come back to their senses. Oh my god, that was way too cool. Cool for sure, but that blood sea just now was a little scary. Not saying anything else. I'm going back to the dorm to change my pants first. You're telling me this is King Qi realm? Huh. If you told me this was the martial god of the great Xia, I'd believe it. Amid the students' chattering exclamations, Luo Tianheng finally snapped back to his senses, his eyes filled with deep shock and suspicion. That blood moon just now, and that blood sea condensed from killing intent. Was that a heavenly phenomenon? A high school student who has just entered Qi realm actually triggered so many heavenly phenomena with a single sword strike. How is that possible? By now, Luo Tianheng was utterly certain that there was simply no great figure in Guangling City who was attempting to break through to martial god realm. Though there were too many unbelievable things, the one who successfully comprehended Dao rhythm and formed a Dao seed was. It was this youth before him, who was only at Qi realm. Using Qi realm cultivation to slay a high-ranking evil god's soul sounded like something impossible. But Luo Tianheng knew that it was not impossible to do. When a seed breaks through the soil, it can burst forth with 100 or 1,000 times its own power. And when a martial artist comprehends Dao rhythm, the instant their own Dao seed sprouts through the soil, it can unleash 10,000 times, or even 1,000,000 times, their own power. This is the power of touching the domain of the gods. In the 1,000+ years of Great Xia's history, how many sovereign emperors who ruled over a region spent decades, even hundreds of years, only to still stumble on the path of comprehending the Dao and stop short before the martial god realm? The sword Dao Gu Qingchen used just now was able to produce such terrifying phenomena between heaven and earth. There is no doubt that this is the ultimate Dao among the thousands upon thousands of Dao rhymes. Beside Luo Tianheng, the principal looked at Gu Qingchen in midair and nodded thoughtfully. What pure and terrifying killing intent. To nurture this kind of Dao, there must inevitably be piles of corpses stacked like mountains behind it. And that is something a student at the Qi realm could not possibly have done. So there is only one possibility. What possibility? Luo Tianheng hurriedly asked. A legendary, god-level blessing. The principal's eyes blazed as he slowly uttered those words, the smile on his face no longer able to be restrained. Gu Qingchen, oh Gu Qingchen, what trash from the prodigy class are you? You are clearly an unparalleled prodigy of the human race's future. A monstrous girl with an SS-grade blessing, and an unparalleled prodigy who has received a god-level blessing. Presumably, this year Jinshin High School's ranking among Great Xia's high schools will soar all the way up in a terrifying fashion. A god-level blessing? Luo Tianheng's pupils dilated. His earlier anger had completely vanished, and he only felt somewhat dazed. As for divine blessing, he had only ever heard the term at high-level meetings. For some reason, this kind of blessing, which only appears in legends, has not appeared in Great Xia for thousands of years. God-level heroic souls are not bound by the tomb of heroic souls. Like the remnant souls of evil gods, they roam freely between heaven and earth. Only those whose comprehension and spiritual constitution are both among the very best of humanity, and who have not been tainted by evil souls, have an extremely small chance of receiving the blessing of a god. How could this boy, who is only in the Qi realm, possibly? Thinking of this, Luo Tianheng let out a sigh, his face full of sorrow. It seemed that his earlier actions had already forged enmity with this young man. It looks like he has to find a way and an opportunity to repair the relationship between the two of them. Even if he could not completely bury the hatchet with this boy, at the very least they could not become enemies. As the chief governor of Guangling City, after so many years navigating Great Xia's official circles, he naturally knew very well what kind of attitude to adopt toward a true prodigy. At this moment, Gu Qingchen was still floating in midair. His eyes were tightly shut, and after slashing out that sword strike, he only felt that all the Dao rhymes and laws in heaven and earth had submitted beneath his feet. All things returned to one, transforming into a scarlet seed that merged into his Qi. His originally blue Qi was instantly dyed into a crimson ocean. As the absorption of the Dao rhyme was completed, the system's voice sounded in his ear. Peach Blossom Sword God Trial Reward. God-slaying Sword Dao has been fully distributed. The Divine Hall has been officially bound. Next random Divine Trial draw. 12 hours later, with the help of the remaining Dao rhyme, Gu Qingchen walked through the air and slowly descended from the sky. As he descended, his gaze swept across the training ground, and his eyes were involuntarily drawn to that stunningly beautiful face. Luo Yuli lay quietly beside the tomb of heroic souls, and even in her unconscious state, she was still unbelievably beautiful, like an exquisite porcelain doll, her entire body giving off a cool and aloof air. He sighed inwardly. He really had forcefully kissed this school belle with monstrous martial talent during the heroic soul blessing ceremony. Everything felt like a dream. When he thought about how he would have to give this school belle a reasonable explanation afterward, he got a headache. He couldn't exactly say the system had required it, Could he? As Qingchen's heart was in constant turmoil, he suddenly felt as if a transparent cloth had been draped over his eyes. Immediately after, he only felt the world before him begin to spin, and the scene before his eyes grew increasingly blurry. This is bad. My spiritual power seems to be a bit overdrawn. The consciousness in his mind rapidly faded away, and Qingchen, like a bird with broken wings, crashed to the ground beside the tomb of heroic spirits with a thud. Seeing this scene, the principal's heart tightened involuntarily, and he hurried forward to check on him. After thoroughly examining Qingchen from head to toe, he finally let out a sigh of relief. His vitality is very vigorous. He doesn't look like he's in trouble. He should have just fainted from overexerting his spiritual power while comprehending Tao resonance. This boy collapsed on the sports field was still shrouded in interwoven Tao resonance composed of killing intent, still emanating a terrifying aura. After confirming that Qingchen was fine, Luo Tianheng couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. He had no idea how he managed to endure it. With such a vast top-tier Tao resonance, anyone else would probably have exploded and died long ago. Luo Tianheng waved his hand behind him and instructed, Secretary Fu, take him to Guangling No. 1 Martial Arts Hospital to recuperate and help him get a full-body examination. Just give my name. Guangling No. 1 Martial Arts Hospital was the best hospital in Guangling City, and at the same time, its fees were extremely expensive. Moreover, money alone was not enough. To get into this hospital with top-tier medical equipment, one also needed strong connections. Understood. Secretary Fu nodded. A patch of white cloud formed from force qi extended from his hand, gently lifting Qingchen from the ground as he was about to leave. At this moment, Luo Tianheng's eyes suddenly lit up. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted Luo Yuli, who was also unconscious nearby. He frowned slightly, then slapped his forehead as if suddenly enlightened. How could I have forgotten about this? Wasn't the cause of the conflict between me and this boy surnamed Gu that he forcibly kissed my daughter in public? Although he doesn't have a good impression of me, he definitely likes my daughter Luo Yuli. Otherwise, how could he possibly do something so absurd right in front of me, the principal, and all the students in the school? At this thought, Luo Tianheng's brows furrowed slightly again. That doesn't seem right. If this boy surnamed Gu merely likes Yuli, then logically, he should at least have confessed to her in public first. Going straight to forcibly kissing her would only provoke my daughter's disgust. Could it be that my daughter and this boy surnamed Gu are already in that kind of relationship? At this thought, he glanced again at Qingchen beside him. The boy lay quietly on the white cloud formed from force qi, with bright eyes and sharp brows, so handsome it was almost excessive. He became more and more convinced that his guess was correct. Wait, Secretary Fu, take Yuli along as well for an examination. Luo Tianheng coughed lightly twice and said to Secretary Fu, who was just about to leave, Governor, I just examined her. Miss Luo only temporarily fainted because intense emotional fluctuations caused excessive disorder in her qi. There's no need to go to the hospital. Secretary Fu explained somewhat earnestly. Luo Tianheng coughed twice again and said in a deep voice, If I tell you to take her, then take her. Why so much nonsense? Oh, and remember to place the two of them in a separate ward, the kind with adjacent beds. Secretary Fu was taken aback, seeming to realize something. He glanced at Qingchen in his hand, as if he understood something, and nodded as though half understanding. Two masses of white cloud formed from force qi gently wrapped around the two of them like cocoons as they headed toward Guangling No. 1 Martial Arts Hospital. In the Great Xian Nation, in Dragon Capital, inside a blade training room, a man wearing a crimson mask sat cross-legged on the floor, holding a rust-red long blade in both hands, his posture of holding the blade nearly reverent. The man's eyes were tightly shut, and the killing intent around him was so dense it seemed ready to drip blood. Yet within this dense killing intent, the man always seemed to be missing something. Time passed quickly. After a long while, the man slowly rose from the ground, shook his head, and seemed somewhat disappointed. As the chief director of the Fiend Tribunal, his bladesmanship had long since reached the pinnacle of perfection. Over the years, the corpses of evil fiends slain by his hand were enough to pile up into a mountain. But even so, he still could not comprehend the slaughter blade Dao he longed for. Was proving the Dao through killing a mistake? I simply can't sense any Dao resonance at all. The man frowned and muttered to himself in confusion. Because he could not perceive Dao resonance, he had remained at the peak of the Emperor realm for a full 10 years. Just as he relaxed his body and planned to eat a meal before beginning his next round of Dao comprehension, The rust-red long blade in his hands suddenly trembled slightly, as if it were fearing something. Immediately after, a crimson blood moon slowly rose into the sky. The crimson moonlight spilled down, carrying incomparably pure killing intent that spread through the air, piercingly cold. The instant the blood moon rose, the man's body trembled slightly with fear, and cold sweat poured down his back like a waterfall. Yet his eyes shone with unprecedented excitement and agitation. Such intense killing intent. This is the Tao resonance of slaughter. Isn't this exactly the path of slaughter I have always dreamed of? Gripping the rust-red blade, the man trembled as he slashed upward through the air. The surrounding space immediately began to fluctuate violently, tearing open a spatial rift. S-rank blessing, spatial transfer. Just as half of the man's body had already entered the spatial rift, his body suddenly came to a halt. In his perception, that aura of slaughter coming from Guangling City had inexplicably vanished. The expression on the man's face kept changing, as if he were hesitating, but in the end he still withdrew from the spatial rift. He possessed the extremely rare S-rank blessing, spatial transfer, which could open a spatial rift for teleportation anywhere on the entire planet Blue Star. This was what allowed him, as the chief director of the Fiend Tribunal, to reach the scene of an incident quickly. Unfortunately, this blessing had a one-day cooldown. If any other major emergency were to occur somewhere else in the Great Xian Nation within this day, and he could not reach the scene in time to deal with it, that would be troublesome. I'm just afraid those evil beings are luring the tiger away from the mountain. The man pondered for a while, took out his phone, and dialed a number. Hello, help me pass word to the governor of Guangling City that I will be going there for an inspection tomorrow. And also find out whether Guangling City has a newly promoted martial god. If there is one, then no matter the cost, you must help me secure a chance to meet him. Guangling City. In Ward 504 of the 1st Martial Arts Hospital. The clash between the elements has already subsided, and all bodily indicators are very healthy. Stay in the hospital for observation for the afternoon. If there are no other problems, you can be discharged tonight. All right, thank you, doctor. Luo Yuli, sitting on the hospital bed, nodded in response. After seeing the doctor off, Luo Yuli furrowed her delicate brows and rubbed her somewhat aching temples. Just as she was about to recall why she was in the hospital, the ward door was opened again, and a graceful figure rushed straight over, giving Luo Yuli a big bear hug. Whoa, Yuli, you're finally awake. When I saw you faint on stage, I was worried to death. Hearing the familiar voice, the tension in Luo Yuli's body instantly eased. Xiaoya, what brings you here? What? As your one and only bestie, am I not allowed to come see you when you're hospitalized? Xiaoya let go of Luo Yuli and gently flicked the tip of her delicate nose with her finger. Tell me, what's going on between you and Qingchen? When did you two get together? You little thing, and you actually dared to keep it from me. Qingchen. Luo Yuli covered the tip of her nose and froze slightly, as all the memories from before she fainted came flooding back. Recalling that rough kiss, a faint blush suddenly rose on Luo Yuli's originally pale cheeks. Seeing her best friend's strange expression, Xiaoya instantly widened her eyes. No way? My dear girl, don't tell me you have nothing to do with him. Right now the whole school knows that you two did that at the blessing ceremony. If this gets out, the reputation of our Jianxin Middle School's campus belle Luo will be completely ruined. And this Qingchen is just too hateful, actually doing something like that to you in public. Xiaoya grumbled indignantly. It's okay, I don't blame him. He helped me a lot before, and I'm very grateful to him. What happened this time was probably because he had his own difficulties. Luo Yuli shook her head and softly refuted her with a blush on her face. Helped you a lot. Even if he saved your life before, he still can't do something like this. But Xiaoya, who had been seriously analyzing the situation, suddenly turned all smiles the next second. But Qingchen really is quite handsome, and that sword strike of his today was insanely cool. Okay, thinking about it that way, I feel like it's not entirely unacceptable either. How about you just go with him, Yuli? Hehe. Alright, let me show you something I secretly recorded. The principal has already completely blocked all news of this incident, so this is exclusive footage. As she spoke, the talkative Xiaoya took out her tablet and placed it in front of Luo Yuli, then tapped on a video and started playing it. It was a video recorded on a phone, and the image kept shaking. In the shaky footage, one could vaguely make out a young man shielding a girl behind him, holding a peach blossom branch in his hand, followed by a screen filled with strange phenomena between heaven and earth. When she saw the scene in the video where the young man shielded the girl behind him, Luo Yuli's beautiful eyes trembled slightly. As the young man slashed out with his sword, Everything between heaven and earth seemed to fall silent. The twisted filth in the sky exploded with a bang, and boundless sunlight poured over the young man, dazzling and resplendent. So, little Yuli, Qingchen is handsome, right? You have no idea. Now almost all the girls in the school are his fangirls. Xiaya excitedly turned off the video and turned her head, only to find that Luo Yuli was still staring blankly at the screen in a daze, looking utterly absent-minded. She sighed a little helplessly. In her impression, because of her almost supernatural beauty and martial arts talent, Luo Yuli had no shortage of suitors. Among them were even sons of prominent noble families from Longdu, but Luo Yuli had always been very aloof toward outsiders. No matter what kind of suitor they were, Luo Yuli had politely turned them all down over the past few years. Xiaya had never seen Luo Yuli like this before today. She really had no idea what kind of love potion that guy Qingchen had fed schoolbell Luo. Bang! Suddenly, a dull thud rang out in the hospital room. Immediately after that came a male voice full of confusion. Hiss, my head. My head hurts so much. Where am I? Xiaya and Luo Yuli were both stunned at the same time. There was someone else in this hospital room. The next second, the white curtain at the side was pulled open, revealing another hospital bed in the room. A handsome face, with a trace of haggardness, was exposed to the sunlight. Qingchen, who had just woken up, held his faintly aching head and looked up around him in confusion, finally meeting Luo Yuli's gaze. Both of them froze at the same time. Xiaya silently stepped aside, a faint smile on her face, looking every bit like a bystander enjoying the drama. A trace of awkwardness spread through the air. Faced with Luo Yuli's crystal-clear eyes, the newly awakened Qingchen was in complete turmoil. Among the countless questions, the most important one surfaced. How was he supposed to explain things to Luo Yuli now? After doing that to her, as a man, no matter what, he had to take responsibility for the girl in front of him. What's more, Qingchen had already had a rather favorable impression of Luo Yuli. Not only was Luo Yuli famously stunning, but even her personality was soft and gentle. Every time she spoke to him, she would even get shy. Qingchen had never understood how such a gentle girl could be labeled as cold and aloof by her classmates. Before, the distance between them had simply been too great, so Qingchen could only suppress these feelings deep in his heart. But now it was different. Having awakened the Divine Hall, Qingchen was confident he could trample any obstacle beneath his feet. Finally, he clenched his fist, as if making some kind of decision, and said, Classmate Luo, about what happened before, listen to me explain. But before Qingchen could finish speaking, I have something to do tonight, so I'll be leaving first. Classmate Gu, make sure to rest well. Luo Yuli's tone was somewhat flustered, the blush on her cheeks already burning all the way to her ears. She scrambled off the hospital bed and fled in panic, dragging Xiaoyu along with her. What does this mean? Watching the two of them walk away, Qingchen scratched his head, somewhat baffled. Forget it, they're in the same class anyway. There would be plenty of chances to clear things up later, so Qingchen didn't dwell on it too much. Feeling that his head was still somewhat swollen and aching, he drifted back to sleep on the hospital bed. No one knew how much time had passed, but by the time Qingchen woke up again, the sky had already grown dark. After confirming that his body was fine, Qingchen completed the discharge procedures and headed home. The hospital wasn't far from Qingchen's home. After crossing 4 streets, he arrived at a rundown residential complex. After returning home, Qingchen had just taken out his key, opened the door, and walked in when a green liquor bottle came flying toward his head. Bang! Glass shards exploded off the wall above his head like raindrops, pattering down all over him. Who dares offend my great Xia? Let's see if I don't drink you to death. In the living room, a slovenly drunkard was lying on the floor. The drunkard had a thick beard and hair so long that it already covered his eyes, with some parts so dirty they had even clumped together. If he were out on the street, he would look exactly like a homeless man. At this moment, he held a bottle of liquor in his left hand and was gulping it down, making gurgling sounds. This was Qingchen's father, Guoyin. Ever since Qingchen's mother died on the battlefield, he had completely become a slave to alcohol. Every day, he was either dead drunk or on his way to getting dead drunk. Even this family's monthly living expenses were supported only by his late mother's pension and Guoyin's veteran's pay. Looking at the floor full of glass shards, Qingchen skillfully picked up the tools nearby and began cleaning up. Dad, didn't I tell you to drink less? How did you get this drunk again? Qingchen brushed the debris off his head with his hand and patiently cleaned up the glass shards on the floor. Linger, my ling. I miss. Hick, you so much, boo-hoo. Huff, 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 zzz. The drunken Gu Outyin lay on the floor, babbling nonsense. And as he spoke, he started snoring. Gu Qingchen let out a sigh and, as if used to it, helped his dad onto the living room sofa to lie down, wiped his face, and then covered him with a blanket. Bro, is dad asleep? He's already asleep. You can come out now. Phew. The pretty girl let out a long breath and poked her delicate little head out from the bedroom. This was Gu Qingchen's younger sister, 2 years younger than him, now a first-year student at Qingchen High School. However, compared with Gu Qingchen, Gu Xiaoyu's martial arts talent could be called astonishing. Just by the time she graduated from 9th grade, Gu Xiaoyu had already completed body tempering early and reached the first realm, the Qi-Si realm. Now she had even risen to the 4th rank of the Qi-Si realm. Dad has no idea what got into him today. He started smashing things in the house the moment he got back. It scared me to death, Gu Xiaoyu complained to her brother. It's been so many years, you should be used to it by now. Gu Qingchen reached out and patted his sister's head, but Gu Xiaoyu immediately slapped his hand away. Gu Qingchen, I told you not to touch my head. I won't grow taller. Gu Xiaoyu bared her teeth and glared, like an irritable little cat. You're worried about not growing taller? Gu Qingchen stared speechlessly at Gu Xiaoyu's long legs. She was only in her first year of high school. Yet Gu Xiaoyu was already only a head shorter than him, and he was 185 tall. A tall figure paired with a pure face. She was unquestionably a top-tier beauty in the making. Although her upper body was still somewhat immature, her potential for development was undeniably huge. By the way, bro, how was your blessing grade today? Did you get AB rank? Gu Qingchen felt a little puzzled. All the third-year high school students should have seen him slay the evil god with a single sword strike. So why didn't Gu Xiaoyu, who was in the same school, know about it? But he still shook his head and said, No, my blessing failed. He clearly remembered the words the peach blossom, sword immortal, had left him before he departed from the Hall of Gods. What happens in the Hall of Gods must not be told to outsiders. Sigh. It'd be one thing if someone had no talent in martial arts, but not even getting a blessing too? Looks like in the future you can only sponge off your little sister. Seeing her brother embarrassed, Gu Xiaoyu decisively chose to mock him. But between her brows, she was carefully observing Gu Qingchen's expression, as if afraid he might show a dejected look. Then will you let your brother sponge off you? Gu Qingchen leaned in front of his sister with a smile and stared at her. Gu Xiaoyu froze for a moment, as if she hadn't expected her brother to react like this. Oh my, your skin is really thick. Fine, sponge off me then. It's not like I said you couldn't. Avoiding her brother's gaze, Gu Xiaoyu puffed up and muttered a couple of angry lines. Suddenly, as if remembering something, she stared at Gu Qingchen with shining eyes again. All right, bro, there's one more thing I want to ask you. Gu Xiaoyu suddenly turned playful and sly, wrapping one arm around Gu Qingchen's neck, and said with a giggle, I heard that at the third year's blessing ceremony this morning, you forcibly kissed the school beauty Luo. Is it true? If it is, that'd be so cool. Thinking about it, Gu Xiaoyu excitedly clenched her little fists. Get lost, get lost, get lost. What's so cool about that? You little kid, what do you know? Recalling that scene from this morning, Gu Qingchen's old face turned red, and he directly used the Foshan shadowless kick to send Gu Xiaoyu back into her room. Bro, go for it. If school beauty Luo really becomes my sister-in-law, I'll be so impressive at school. Hee. I believe in you. You'll definitely win over school beauty Luo. Bang. What answered her was the heavy sound of Gu Qingchen shutting the door. This little girl, day after day, instead of working hard at cultivation, she's more eager than anyone when it comes to gossip. Gu Qingchen rubbed his brow helplessly. After casually eating something from the fridge, Gu Qingchen also shut his room door. Only Gu Outyin remained in the living room, sprawled messily on the sofa. But after the two had been back in their rooms for a while, the snoring in the living room abruptly stopped. A golden radiance silently enveloped the entire living room. Gu Outyin, who had originally been dozing, opened his eyes. Sacred golden light flowed within his pupils, and there was no trace of drunkenness left. He sat up from the sofa and stared at Gu Qingchen's bedroom, his eyes filled with lingering shock. That child Qingchen has actually truly gained the favor of an ancient god. After the shock, a gratified look appeared on his face. As expected, my thinking was right. A child who grows up through adversity is the strongest. It seems the plan to have him directly inherit the family business will have to be postponed again. I'll have to be more careful in the future, so he doesn't notice any flaws. Right. Tomorrow I also need to make a trip to the Great Xia royal family and raise Qingchen's hidden identity clearance to the highest level. At 18, He already comprehended ultimate Tao insight. I can already imagine the expressions on those three old geezers' faces tomorrow. Really looking forward to it. A sly grin flashed across Gu Aoyin's face. Back in the bedroom, just as Gu Qingchen lay back down on the bed, his phone began buzzing. It was a call from the principal. Xiao Gu, have you been discharged from the hospital? How are you feeling? Thank you for your concern, principal. I'm already fine. That's good. You're now Guangling City's hidden peerless prodigy. If anything really happened to you, I couldn't bear that responsibility. You're too kind, principal. I'm just an ordinary student. Gu Qingchen said modestly. Oh, come on. What ordinary student comprehends Tao insight at the Qihai realm? The principal laughed and scolded him lightly, then continued. By the way, at 12 noon tomorrow, the chief director of the Demon Tribunal headquarters will come to Guangling City for an inspection. The chief director of the Demon Tribunal? Gu Qingchen was first stunned, then a trace of surprise flashed through his eyes. Why would such a major figure come to a small place like Guangling? In Great Xia, strength is supreme, and strength also corresponds to rank within Great Xia's governing system. District governor, city governor, provincial governor, the 12 earth generals, the 7 Xia emperors, and the 4 martial gods. Strength and authority rose layer by layer. And the Demon Tribunal was a special organization independent of the government system, responsible for dealing with invasions of extraterritorial demons on Blue Star. Due to its special nature, the Demon Tribunal could even stand above certain Great Xia laws and enjoyed the power to execute first and report later. The 4 martial gods were usually elusive, and Great Xia's actual power was normally held by the council formed by the 7 emperors. As for the chief director of the Demon Tribunal, he possessed the terrifying cultivation of peak emperor realm, and his status was no less than that of the 7 emperors. That's truly a major figure, but what does his inspection of Guangling City have to do with me? Several question marks seemed to pop up over Gu Qingchen's head as he asked in confusion. Of course it has something to do with you. The principal's previously casual tone suddenly turned serious. This great figure is here incognito and has booked the entire Yingyue Tower, preparing to personally host a banquet for you tomorrow at 12 noon. If you can gain the favor of such a great figure, your future martial path can be said to be smooth sailing. The chief director of the Demon Tribunal is going to see me tomorrow? Gu Qingchen frowned slightly. In his view, the principal and Governor Luo would definitely suppress the matter of him comprehending Tao insight and slaying the evil god yesterday. No matter what, successfully comprehending Tao insight at 18 was simply too shocking to the world. Today, Gu Xiaoyu only knew that he had forcefully kissed Luo Yuli, but did not know that he had destroyed an evil god with a single sword strike. That was enough to prove the point well. Just why would the chief director specifically ask to see him by name? Just as Gu Qingchen was deep in thought, a mechanical voice suddenly rang out by his ear. The cooldown of the Divine Spirit Hall has been completed. Connecting now, the next trial has automatically started. Guiding the Hall Master into the Divine Spirit Hall, a red light slowly enlarged before Gu Qingchen's eyes, gradually filling his entire field of vision. Gu Qingchen immediately fell onto the bed and drifted into a deep sleep. Only the school principal's urgent calls of hello, hello, remained on his phone. When he opened his eyes again, everything before him was already covered in a sea of crimson, a sky overcast with dark clouds, and a ground stained with blood. The air was filled with a thick smell of blood, and all kinds of blood, in various colors, were splashed across the uneven ground like paint, with countless severed limbs scattered around him. Matching a deity for the Hall Master. Matching complete silver dragon spear god. Zhao Zilong. The trial and rewards will be issued by the deity personally. Zhao Zilong? This deity is Zhao Yun this time? Gu Qingchen was overjoyed. As a transmigrator, Gu Qingchen naturally knew how formidable Zhao Yun was in history. From the distant heroic spirit hall, a red light orb flew out and transformed into a human form, standing steadily in front of Gu Qingchen. The man had a noble and handsome appearance, with an imposing silver armor that shone brilliantly in the dim light. But what shocked Gu Qingchen most was the long spear in the man's hand. The long spear was incomparably sharp, and intricate patterns carved on it looked like runes, like strips of silver dragons coiling and moving. With every swing, one could faintly hear the terrifying roar of dragons within it. The moment the man drew out his spear, Gu Qingchen felt even his soul trembling. Zilong pays respects to the Hall Master. Zhao Yun knelt on one knee and cupped his hands in salute. The instant the man knelt down, Gu Qingchen felt as if an invisible mountain was pressing down on him, so heavily that he could hardly breathe. General, there's no need for such courtesy. Qingchen said, forcing himself to endure the discomfort and squeezing out an ugly smile. But his knees were already trembling nonstop. Seemingly sensing Qingchen's discomfort, Zhao Zilong hurriedly put away the spear in his hand. The instant the spear disappeared, Qingchen felt the pressure on his body vanish abruptly. He sat down on the ground and panted heavily. He felt a little afraid. This spear contained great terror. Simply being in the same space as it had already given him this feeling. If it were used in battle, Qingchen didn't dare imagine it. Space collapse? That might be a relatively light consequence. Could this long spear be the reward for this trial? Qingchen's gaze immediately turned hot. General Zhao, what trial have you prepared for me this time? Qingchen asked impatiently. Hall Master, please don't be anxious. You still cannot begin the trial now. Zhao Zilong said in a calm tone. Oh, why is that? Qingchen asked, puzzled. The Hall Master's physique is frail, and your cultivation foundation was already ruined in childhood. If you forcibly undergo the trial, your whole body will surely explode and die. Did the Hall Master suffer serious injuries in childhood? Zhao Yun's words instantly pulled Qingchen into his memories. Back then, he too had been among the top geniuses. By the time he had just entered middle school, he was already at the 8th stage of body tempering realm. But on the way home from school one day, he heard cries for help coming from an alley. Several people in strange clothing were assaulting a girl. They tried to drag the girl into a van by the roadside. The girl's head had already been stuffed into a sack, and only her lower body was still struggling desperately. He had seen the emblem on that clothing on television before. It was a cult organization that specifically forcibly abducted girls to use as sacrifices. So he stepped in and rescued the girl from the cult members. Outnumbered and overmatched, he was beaten until he coughed up blood by those cultists. He was gravely injured and fell unconscious. When he woke up again, he was already in the hospital. Although he luckily survived in the end, from that day on, his realm became extremely difficult to advance further. It took Qingchen a full 6 years to go from the 8th stage of body tempering to the first realm, Qi. It was impossible not to suspect that something was wrong with his body. General Zhao, do you mean? A trace of excitement flashed through Qingchen's eyes. Can the Hall Master, here in this place, use souls as blood and spirits as flesh to reconstruct the meridians? Zhao Zilong smiled faintly and suddenly clenched his right hand in the air. In an instant, countless howls filled this blood-colored world. One enormous monster after another rose from the ground. The monsters were nearly 3 meters tall and varied in form. Some were humanoid with crooked mouths and slanted eyes. Some were serpent-like, twisted together like intestines, and some Qingchen could not even describe at all. They were simply too disgusting and bizarre. The only thing they had in common was the same circular wound on their bodies, the mark of being pierced by a sharp weapon. All had been killed with a single blow. These are the souls of the fiends I slew in ancient times. They still retain quite a bit of the spiritual energy of that era, making them perfect for the Hall Master to temper flesh, blood, and meridians. Zhao Zilong said calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, a bizarre Buddha statue with enormous tentacles growing from its head smashed heavily toward Qingchen. Qingchen did not dare be careless, and a peach blossom branch appeared in his hand. The instant the peach blossom branch was in his hand, Qingchen seemed to merge with the blood aura of this world, transforming into a sea of blood. His eyes, too, were dyed red by killing intent. With a single slash of his sword, the sea of blood formed from killing intent instantly turned the monster before him into a puddle of black sludge. Before Qingchen could even react, he saw a wisp of illusory blood aura materialize from the monster's body. Like an arrow, it fiercely drilled into his body. Immediately afterward, a wave of heat wrapped around his entire body, making him feel as comfortable as if he were being cleansed in a hot spring. Then came the continuous rise of his aura. My meridians are really expanding continuously. More than that, my martial path realm is rising too. A look of delight flashed across Qingchen's face once again. At this moment, the way he looked at the large swath of bizarre monsters before him had already changed somewhat. Kill! Qingchen roared, carrying endless killing intent as he charged fiercely into the monster horde. Flesh and blood filled the sky, mingling together. In the training grounds of the Yin family, a top prestigious clan in Longdu, a young man as sturdy as a small mountain was lifting a massive block of iron with his bare hands. The young man was wearing a school uniform, with the words Longdu University especially eye-catching on the chest. In addition, above the words Longdu University, 3 stars were shining with light. Longdu University is one of the two best schools in Great Xia, standing alongside Moda University. And the 3 stars represented the identity of a member of the Longdu University Student Council. Report, young master, there is the latest news about Miss Luo. Speak. At the mention of the words Miss Luo, the sounds in the training grounds came to an abrupt stop. The young man's eyes snapped open as he stared at the old man before him, a light as infatuated as a love-struck fool bursting from his eyes. At today's bestowal ceremony, Miss Luo, just like you, young master, successfully received the blessing of an SS rank Emperor class heroic spirit. Hearing this news, the young man was first stunned, then a few seconds later burst into delighted laughter. Ha 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 ha, an SS rank blessing, good. As expected of the woman I, Yin Deng, have pursued for a full 3 years. Elder Huang, bring me the scarlet flame sword that my father spent 100 million Great Xia coins to collect 2 days ago. Set out immediately. I will personally deliver this grand gift to my Yuli to celebrate. A trace of anticipation appeared in Yin Mingding's eyes. At this moment, he wished he could fly directly from Longdu to Guangling. Hearing this, old Huang's cloudy pupils trembled violently, and sweat immediately poured down his back. The crimson flame sword. That was a divine weapon the head of the Yin family had spent 100 million Huaxia coins to obtain. Although it wouldn't shake the foundation of the entire Yin family, it was definitely a major bleeding. If it were really taken to give to the young master, the master would surely fly into a rage. Young master, the Crimson Flame Sword is one of the master's most prized collections in recent years. How about we change it? Before he could finish, Yin Mingding rudely cut him off. Change what? His son is using a little of his stuff to chase a girl. What's the big deal? Besides, other than cultivation these past few years, I've basically never used the family's resources. That old geezer should have been giving me a big reward long ago. Yin Mingding looked entirely justified. Old Huang wiped the sweat from his face, his expression somewhat hesitant. By the way, young master, there's something else about Miss Luo. I don't know if I should say it. Say it. Yuli is my business. Yin Mingding waved his hand grandly, smiling from ear to ear. When Miss Luo had just finished receiving her blessing, she was forcefully kissed by a Qi Si realm student. Good. Huh. Wait, what did you say? Yin Mingding's burly body stiffened at once, and the smile froze on his face. The goddess he had pursued for so many years was forcefully kissed? After all his efforts over the years, the goddess had never even properly spoken to him. After a few seconds of silence, damn it, Yin Mingding's muscles bulged like mountains, and both fists slammed heavily into the ground. Boom. In an instant, smoke and dust billowed. 2 3-meter-deep pits appeared on the ground. At this moment, Yin Mingding's eyes seemed to lose all their luster. His face darkened to a purplish black as he gritted his teeth and said, "Send me all the information on that bastard before today ends. Also, buy me the earliest flight to Guangling tomorrow." Guangling City, the Luo residence. In the bedroom, Luo Yuli wore a purple sleeping robe dress, her pair of delicate jade feet stepping on the cold floor. Her nearly perfect figure was fully on display. At this moment, her exquisite brows were slightly furrowed. Beside her, multicolored lights shimmered, dazzling and brilliant. The 5-colored radiance slowly revolved around Luo Yuli as the center. An SS-tier blessing, primordial element mastery. So-called primordial elements are the 5 elements from which all things begin. Primordial element control is the ability to manipulate the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. You have to know, elemental-type blessings are already rare, and almost all elemental blessings are only A rank or even S rank. Yet the blessing Luo Yuli received could actually allow her to control 5 elements at the same time. And that still wasn't the most terrifying part of this SS-tier blessing. The 5 elements generate and restrain one another, and by simultaneously mastering the 5 primordial elements. This also means that as long as she can grow successfully, she will have no weaknesses at all, and she will be able to easily see through all of her enemies' flaws. Finally, I can control 5 elements at the same time. When I first received the blessing, it was clearly so hard to control. Thinking back to that scene at the blessing ceremony, a blush again rose to Luo Yuli's face. That soft sensation is still vivid in my memory now. Luo Yuli, what are you thinking? She suddenly threw herself onto the bed, covered her flushed face with the blanket, and kept flailing her feet on the bed like a little girl. In her mind were memories endlessly spinning and surging. In today's video, that boy stood firmly in front of her. His figure overlapped with that boy in the alley from years ago. Luo Yuli even didn't know why she had fled in such a panic today. And why, every time she faced him, did she always not dare to speak? Luo Yuli, you're about to graduate. You can't keep running away anymore. After all these years, you've become very strong, and now you can protect him too. She clenched her little fists, a trace of determination showing through her delicate features. Just as Luo Yuli was psyching herself up, the bedroom door was suddenly knocked on. Immediately after, Luo Tianheng's voice came from outside. Yuli, tomorrow the chief director of the Demon Tribunal will be coming to Guangling for an inspection. You can come with me and ask him to give you some pointers on your martial arts cultivation. I'm not going. The moment she heard Luo Tianheng's voice, Luo Yuli's tone suddenly turned cold. Not going. Luo Tianheng sighed, his tone full of regret. Chief Director has specially invited your classmate Gu as well. I thought you two were pretty close. After a few seconds of silence. Time and place. The voice from the bedroom remained cold, but now sounded a little hurried. Tomorrow at 12 noon, Ingwe Tower. After saying that, Luo Tianheng left with a smile. A few hours earlier, he had received news that the director of the Demon Tribunal had something come up at the last minute. His arrival in Guangling tomorrow would be delayed by an hour, meaning 1 p.m. And yet he had informed both Luo Yuli and the principal that it was exactly 12 p.m. This little move of his was not bad at all. Temple of the Gods. Countless indistinct masses of flesh were strewn across this land, reeking horribly. Severed limbs of monsters could be seen everywhere. Qingchen was covered in blood, his body utterly exhausted, yet his eyes revealed an unprecedented excitement. In the battle with the monsters, he could clearly feel his body continuously recovering. His cultivation was also rising at an explosive speed. The concentration of spiritual energy in ancient times really was vastly different from that of today. Qingchen could not help but sigh. These twisted monsters were only a wisp of soul, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth remaining within them had been diluted by the passage of tens of thousands of years. But even so, the spiritual energy on these monsters still far exceeded Qingchen's imagination. He had slain more than 10 monsters here, and at this moment he was already feeling somewhat uncomfortable from the spiritual energy overflowing from his body. It felt like he had reached a bottleneck. Could it be that he was about to break through to the martial artist realm? But he had only just broken through to the Qi realm not long ago. Wasn't this cultivation speed a little too outrageous? Qingchen was a little dumbfounded. Outside the Temple of the Gods, the battle was already nearing its end. When Qingchen used sword Qi to pierce through the last monster, Zhao Zilong, clad in silver armor, reappeared at his side, cupped his hands, and said, "Congratulations, Hall Master, on passing the first level of the Demon Trial Grounds." "This is only the first level?" Qingchen raised an eyebrow. As if seeing the confusion in Qingchen's heart, Zhao Zilong explained, "The Demon Trial Grounds have 3 levels in total, and each level cleared grants a different reward. When Hall Master has fully cleared the first 2 levels and your meridians are completely restored, I will open the 3rd level of the Demon Trial Grounds for you. That will be the true trial this time. The reward for the first level is a baptism of flesh and blood, tempering the body, and spiritual energy empowerment." As he spoke, Zhao Zilong placed a hand on Qingchen's shoulder, and a silver light instantly enveloped Qingchen. The moment the silver light descended, Qingchen felt all the exhaustion in his body vanish without a trace. Not only that, a terrifying energy spread through his limbs. Unlike the red spiritual energy inside the monsters, when the silver light passed through his body, it brought a cool sensation. But the qi and blood throughout Qingchen's body began to boil. The qi sea, stained red by the blood-colored Dao aura, kept spinning non-stop, and a vast presence filled every part of his body. Martial artist realm achieved. After breaking through, the silver light on Qingchen showed no sign of dissipating, and continued to move through his body. 1st rank martial artist, 2nd rank martial artist, 3rd rank martial artist, 9th rank martial artist. Qingchen's aura continued to rise steadily upward. In the end, Qingchen forcibly restrained it at the peak of the martial artist realm. He was only half a step away from the 3rd realm, transcendence. The abundant spiritual energy still lingered around Qingchen. If he wanted to, he could even break through directly to the transcendent realm right now. However, Qingchen still suppressed that impulse. After all, breaking through 2 realms in a single night, but I'm already at the peak of the martial artist realm just like that? Feeling the abundant spiritual energy within his body, Qingchen was a little doubtful of life. In a single day, he had gone directly from just entering the Qi realm to the peak of the martial artist realm. He had nearly crossed 2 major realms. The gods in the Divine Hall are truly terrifying. The reward for the first floor is already this lavish. I wonder what rewards the second and third floors will give me. Qingchen looked in the direction where Zhao Zilong had disappeared, his eyes burning with excitement. This trial period has ended. The main hall of the Divine Hall has been opened for the Hall Master, with a cooldown of 12 hours, each timed. After the cooldown ends, the Hall Master may freely enter and leave the Divine Hall by will alone. The system's prompt suddenly sounded. Immediately afterward, Qingchen felt everything before his eyes begin to spin, and dizziness filled his entire brain. When he opened his eyes again, he found that he had already returned to his bedroom. At this moment, it was already the next morning, and sunlight streamed through the window into the room. Standing in front of the mirror, Qingchen looked himself up and down, then tried circulating his aura. Strange, there are no bloodstains on my clothes, nor are there any wounds on my body from fighting the monster. But my cultivation has indeed reached the peak of the martial artist realm. If that's the case, then only my consciousness went to the Divine Hall, and the rewards obtained by my consciousness would directly carry over into the real world. Interesting, it's a bit like playing a game. Qingchen nodded thoughtfully and picked up the phone beside him. Lighting up the screen, he saw a large cluster of red notification dots on it. 58 missed calls, all from the principal. Qingchen froze for a moment. Right, today the director of the Evil Demon Tribunal had specially come to Guangling to invite him to a meal. The time seems to be 12 o'clock, so what time is it now? Qingchen looked to the top right corner of the phone and breathed a sigh of relief. It was exactly 11 o'clock now. His home was not too far from Yingyue Tower. If he rode, it would take at most 20 minutes to get there. Looks like he could still make it in time. Qingchen first sent a reply to the principal. Then, after simply washing his face and changing clothes, he quickly went downstairs, found the somewhat worn bicycle he had been riding for 3 years in the bike shed, and headed toward Yingyue Tower. 20 minutes later, a towering building appeared in Qingchen's field of vision. It was a classic, Great Xia ancient-style building, and within its antique decor was contained the most understated luxury. Yingyue Tower was the most luxurious restaurant in Guangling City, quite famous throughout Luoyang Province, and had already become one of Guangling City's representative restaurants. Of course, its prices were also extremely expensive. Qingchen had previously heard from somewhere that booking Yingyue Tower for a single day would cost nearly 1,000,000 huaxia coins. Outside the main entrance of Yingyue Tower, countless flashy luxury cars were parked to one side, further highlighting the restaurant's extraordinary status. Qingchen parked his bicycle beside a stretched Rolls-Royce, locked it, and walked toward Yingyue Tower. At the main entrance of Yingyue Tower stood 2 female receptionists wearing black silk kipayos. One of them seemed somewhat inexperienced, with a pretty appearance and the bearing of a refined young lady. The other was more mature, and every movement of hers revealed a unique charm. Looking at Qingchen, who was riding a shabby old bicycle, curiosity and puzzlement flashed through the eyes of both female receptionists at the same time. The handsome young man before them looked no more than a high school student, and was even riding a bicycle. No matter how you look at it, he doesn't seem like someone who would come to dine at Yingyue Tower. Sir, we're sorry, but Yingyue Tower has already been fully reserved in advance today, so we cannot receive other guests. Although they were puzzled, they still kept smiles on their faces as they apologized to Qingchen. They had seen too many wealthy people. Riding a bicycle didn't necessarily mean anything. She had even seen a guest come to dine on an electric toy car before. I was invited here. My name is Qingchen. Please check and verify it for me, sisters. Qingchen wore a warm smile on his face. A trace of suspicion flashed through the mature woman's eyes again. As far as she knew, the one who had booked the entire Yingyue Tower today was an extremely formidable big shot. This big shot had specially invited a mysterious person to attend the banquet. Even the chief executive of Guangling City was not among the people invited by this big shot this time. No matter how you looked at it, this had nothing to do with a boy who looked like he was still in high school. All right, please wait a moment. The mature woman frowned almost imperceptibly, but still nodded, walked into Yingyue Tower, and called the manager. While waiting, the slightly younger-looking receptionist stole glances at Qingchen from time to time, feeling her cheeks grow a little warm. The boy before her was simply too handsome, and there was even a heroic air between his brows. Being able to book out Yingyue Tower, could he be the young master of some prominent family? Her imagination ran wild. Before long, a man in a suit hurried out of Yingyue Tower, his face full of smiles. Mr. Gu, hello. I am the manager of Yingyue Tower. You can just call me Xiao Chen. You are our honored guest today. The main hall is this way. Please follow me. Behind him, the smile on the mature woman's face had already become somewhat unnatural. This boy, who looked no more than a high school student, really was the honored guest invited by that big shot. Mr. Gu, this is the best seat in Yingyue Tower. Please have a seat. If you need anything, feel free to call me. I won't disturb you any further. Manager Chen bent over in a 90-degree bow and was just about to withdraw. Wait, what signature dishes do you have here? Just bring me some of them first. Listening to his stomach growling non-stop ever since he woke up, Gu Qingchen finally spoke. Since the blessing ceremony yesterday morning, Gu Qingchen had only eaten 2 steamed buns last night. This morning, he had even broken through directly from the Qi realm to peak martial artist. Although breaking through consumed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, it would inevitably also require a great deal of physical strength. In short, Gu Qingchen now felt so hungry that his chest was sticking to his back. Mr. Gu, are you sure you want the dishes served now? Manager Chen bent down carefully and asked respectfully. Others in Yingyue Tower might not know, but he did know exactly what kind of status the person who had booked the entire Yingyue Tower today possessed. That was the chief director of the evil demon tribunal, and aside from the 4 great martial gods, an existence whose status and strength were nearly unrivaled in Great Xia. And the chief director hadn't even arrived yet, but this young man was actually asking to dine first? What exactly was this young man's identity? Manager Chen kept guessing in his mind. Hurry up, I'm hungry. Gu Qingchen nodded, his expression somewhat bitter. Before long, plate after plate of exquisitely prepared dishes was placed before Gu Qingchen. The aroma of the food wafted over, and Gu Qingchen couldn't help swallowing. He picked up his chopsticks and started stuffing food into his mouth. Just as Gu Qingchen was eating heartily, a burst of commotion suddenly came from outside Yingyue Tower. Sir, we're sorry, but Yingyue Tower has been booked out today. No one may enter except a few honored guests. Honored guests? Heh, what kind of honored guest could be more distinguished than the status of the eldest young master of my Yin family? Wait, sir, you can't go in. Where's security? Security? The commotion grew louder and louder, and about a minute later, a burly man barged into Yingyue Tower despite attempts to stop him. His face was full of coarse flesh, and his build was exceptionally brawny. The bulging muscles on his body were clearly visible even through his clothes. Behind him was a white-haired old man with a gaunt face, exuding a terrifying aura. Mr. Yan, believe me, today really won't work. I'm doing this for your own good. Manager Chun was sweating profusely with anxiety as he reached out, trying to block the man's advance. But the man was simply too burly, and Manager Chen's token attempt to stop him was almost completely ignored. The man glanced around and let out a cold snort. Manager Chun, don't worry, I'm not here to smash up your place today. I'm here to take care of some business. Once I'm done, I'll naturally leave. If you let me finish my business sooner, then I'll naturally leave sooner. As he spoke, the man swept his gaze across the entire Yingyue Tower, sank his chi into his dantian, and roared, Gu Qingchen, get the hell out here. His roar turned into surging waves of sound that covered the entire Yingyue Tower. The chandelier overhead swayed as if about to fall, and the whole building trembled slightly. Who the TM is barking like a dog, ruining my appetite. With a piece of dompa pork dangling from his mouth, Gu Qingchen stood up somewhat puzzled and looked down at the burly man below. Oh, so you're Gu Qingchen. Yan Mingding's gaze locked firmly onto Gu Qingchen, and a sneer appeared on his face. Gu Qingchen frowned slightly. In his memory, there was no impression of this person at all. Swallowing the dompa pork in his mouth, Gu Qingchen said flatly, No, who the fuck are you?